What if I told you that there is a man who could be more powerful than the Pope himself, and that he acts in the shadows? The Vatican has always denied it, but there are indications that this figure really exists. Since ancient times, deep secrets have been kept within the sacred walls of the Church, hidden from the eyes of the world. But why? What is behind this mysterious figure that many call Black Pope? The truth may be more surprising than you imagine. Throughout history, God has always taught us about light and darkness, about those who work for good and those who try to hide the truth. But how do you discern what is right? How to seek true wisdom amidst so much hidden information? The Bible warns us about those who disguise themselves as angels of light, but operate in the shadows. Was this already foreseen? Is there something they never told us? Prayer has power, and that's why we're here today, to be together, discover the truth, and seek discernment through divine wisdom. Jesus taught us that everything that is hidden will one day be revealed, and today we will delve deeper into one of the greatest mysteries ever hidden from humanity. Could it be that within the walls of the Vatican there are secrets that challenge the faith we know? This is no ordinary video. This is a journey of discovery, reflection, and questioning. And before we continue, I want you to share your opinion in the comments. Do you believe the Church can hide something so powerful? Have you ever heard of the Black Pope? Write your answer now, because what comes next could change everything you've ever believed. If there is one thing we should never underestimate, it is the power of prayer. In times of uncertainty, in moments where the truth seems to be hidden, we need to turn to God, seek discernment, and strengthen our faith. And that's exactly what I want you to do now. Leave your prayer request in the comments. Write what is in your heart, because together we will cry out for truth, wisdom, and divine light in the midst of so much mystery. The Bible teaches us that where two or more are gathered together in my name, there I will be among them. Matthew 18:20. And at this moment, we are a great community united by faith, by the desire to understand hidden secrets, and above all, by the certainty that God reveals the truth to those who sincerely seek Him. Then don't hesitate. Write your prayer request right now, because I will be reading and praying for each one of you. And if you are here because you feel that there is something bigger happening, that there are secrets that need to be revealed, then leave the like in this video so that more people can have access to this message. Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell, because what we will reveal in the next few minutes could transform your view of the history of the Church and the events that may lie ahead. After all, as the word says, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. John 8:32. Now, let's dive even deeper into this investigation together and understand who is really in control of the forces that govern the behind-the-scenes of faith. The truth has always been before our eyes, but have we been taught to see it? For centuries, the Vatican has maintained a veil of secrecy over countless topics, and one of them is the figure known as Black Pope. This title is not a modern invention, but something that emerged a long time ago, shrouded in mystery, power, and influence. But who really occupies this position? And why does the Vatican itself avoid talking about this? History reveals to us that the term Black Pope is directly linked to Society of Jesus, better known as the Order of Jesuits, a powerful organization within the Church, respected by many, but also surrounded by controversy and deep secrets. The Jesuits were founded in 1540 by Ignatius of Loyola, a man who believed that faith should be defended at any cost. He created an order that would become known for its military discipline, its strategic intelligence, and, most importantly, its influence within the very structure of the Catholic Church. But what makes this order so special? Unlike other church organizations, the Jesuits did not just follow the traditional teachings of Catholicism. They had their own system, a set of internal rules that allowed them to infiltrate different sectors of society. They became the advisors to kings, the mentors to politicians, the intellectual leaders behind important decisions. While the world saw the Pope as the highest authority in the Church, many historians and researchers began to notice something intriguing. The one who really pulled the strings behind the scenes was the leader of the Jesuits, the so-called Black Pope. But why this name? It has no relation to skin color or any racial issue. The title of Black Pope It arose because the leader of the Society of Jesus wears a black robe, in contrast to the white robe of the official pope. But this difference in colors can symbolize something much bigger. While the white pope is the visible face of the church, the one who appears before the crowds, the black pope would be the shadowy figure operating behind the scenes, influencing decisions, shaping the course of history and, according to some theories, being the true architect of power within the church. And this is where things get even more mysterious. Often the position of the black pope has been described as having more authority than the pope himself sitting on the throne of Peter. Is this just a theory, or are there historical facts that support this claim? Well, if we look at historical records, we will see that the Jesuits have always been at the center of the church's most important moments. They control universities, research centers, diplomatic missions, and even strategic sectors within the Vatican itself. Its reach goes far beyond faith, entering fields such as politics, economics, and education. Now stop and think for a moment. How can a single order within the church have so much power? How did a group that began as a mission to defend the faith manage to become one of the most influential organizations in the world? The Vatican itself, at some moments in history, expelled the Jesuits from several countries, claiming that they were acquiring too much power. This happened in France, Portugal, Spain, and even within the papal territory itself. If the church itself needed to act against them, what does that tell us? But what few know is that even after persecution, the Jesuits never disappeared. On the contrary, they grew stronger in the shadows, gaining even more influence and adapting over the centuries. Some theories suggest that the Black Pope has control over aspects of the church that the official pope himself is unaware of. They are rumored to hold secret information within the Vatican archives, documents that could change our understanding of the history of humanity and the Christian faith itself. And now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever heard about the Black Pope before? Do you believe there could be a parallel government within the church, operating in the shadows? Comment below. The truth needs to be revealed if you want this mystery to come to light. Your comment is very important to strengthen this investigation and spread this message. The Jesuits are, without a doubt, one of the most influential and enigmatic orders in the history of the Catholic Church. Founded in 1540 by Ignatius of Loyola, a Society of Jesus emerged with the mission of expand the Catholic faith and combat the Protestant Reformation, which threatened the dominance of the Church in Europe. But what started as a religious group quickly grew into something much larger. Unlike other orders, which focused on prayer and monastic life, the Jesuits had a crucial difference: strategic intelligence, political influence, and a global network of power. But what made them such a feared and respected force? And why do many theories suggest that their leader, the so-called Black Pope, can you have more power than the White Pope himself? The answer lies in the way the Jesuits operate. From their inception, they understood that true influence was not just within the walls of the church, but behind the scenes of power. While other orders devoted themselves to charity and contemplation, the Jesuits infiltrated royal courts, gained the trust of kings, queens, and politicians, and became advisors to the most powerful men in the world. They created universities and teaching centers, ensuring that the intellectual elite were trained under their guidance. They mastered the art of diplomacy, becoming intermediaries in international wars and treaties. And above all, they learned to operate in the shadows, always close to power, but never drawing direct attention to themselves. But how far did this influence go? Some historians believe that the Jesuits were responsible for shaping crucial events in history, acting as true strategists of the Vatican. There are reports that they were behind political assassinations, conspiracies against monarchs, and even the fall of empires. The reason? Maintain control over those who rule the world and ensure that the Church remained the most powerful institution on earth. And if this is true, who would be in charge of all this? Here comes the figure of Black Pope, the superior general of the Society of Jesus. He is not only the leader of the Jesuits, but someone who supposedly holds a hidden power within the very structure of the Church. Unlike the White Pope, who has his authority focused on the spiritual aspect, the Black Pope would be responsible for strategic and political affairs, controlling confidential information, and maintaining a network of influence that extends throughout the world. This would explain why, at many points in history, the Jesuits were seen as a threat even within the Vatican. In 1773, for example, Pope Clement XIV was forced to sign a decree abolishing the Jesuit order, declaring that its influence had become too dangerous. But what happened next? Did the Jesuits just disappear? The answer may be more surprising than many imagine. They not only survived the persecution, but came back even stronger, officially reinstalled within the Church decades later. And since then, its influence has only grown. Today, the Jesuits control hundreds of universities and schools around the world, hold important positions within the Vatican, and are known for their vast network of contacts in politics, economics, and the media. Its power is so great that, in 2013, Pope Francis became the first Jesuit to assume the role of Supreme Pontiff, something that had never happened before. What does this mean? It would be a sign that finally, are the Black Pope and the White Pope united in the same person? The fact is that the history of the Jesuits is surrounded by mystery. There are those who believe that they are the true architects of the Vatican, controlling secret information and manipulating global events to shape the future according to their interests. But how far does this power go? What is the real role of Superior General of the Jesuits within the structure of the Church? And above all, are we facing a hidden government operating within religion itself? Now, I want to know your opinion. Do you believe that the Jesuits really have more power than they let on? Do you think could the Black Pope be influencing decisions within the Vatican without the world noticing? Comment here, the power is in the shadows, if you believe there is something bigger behind this story. Your comment is essential for us to continue this investigation and reveal even more hidden secrets. The Vatican's influence on world politics has always been a topic shrouded in mystery. But what if I told you that there is a figure within the Church who could have an even greater reach than the Pope himself? This figure would be the Black Pope, the Superior General of the Society of Jesus, the leader of the Jesuits. For centuries, this order operated in the shadows, accumulating knowledge, influence, and power. But how far does this influence reach? Could it be possible that the Black Pope was manipulating global events, influencing governments, elections, and even decisions that affect the future of humanity? If we analyze history, we will see that the Jesuits have always been close to the great centers of power. They were advisors to kings, architects of diplomatic treaties, and strategists of silent wars. Many claim that their infiltration capacity is one of their greatest weapons, allowing their ideas to be disseminated without anyone realizing their real origin. Some scholars believe that this influence extends to the present day, where the Jesuit order could be manipulating political events to shape the destiny of nations according to its own interests. And if that's true, who really rules the world? Presidents, prime ministers, or a hidden force within the Church? Many believe that the Black Pope has a global influence network, capable of directly interfering in political and economic decisions. Historical reports indicate that the Jesuits have been expelled from several countries over the centuries, precisely because they were accused of manipulating the internal politics of nations and challenge local authorities. Spain, France, Portugal, and even the Vatican have already tried to curb their influence, but the order always resurfaces with even more force, as if they were one step ahead of any attempt to be dismantled. This brings us to an essential question. If the Jesuits have already been persecuted and yet continue to exercise power, what kind of information do they have that makes them untouchable? There are those who say that, inside the Vatican, there are secret documents, files that reveal conspiracies that would forever change the way we view the Church and world politics. These records, kept under strict secrecy in the Vatican's secret library, would contain information about the true role of the Jesuits in historical events that shaped the world as we know it today. Wars, alliances, the rise and fall of governments. To what extent was the Church involved behind the scenes in these events? Nowadays, this theory gains even more strength. After all, if the Black Pope really has access to a network of contacts that includes political leaders, bankers, and large corporations, what would prevent this order from being carried out? Influence the course of global geopolitics? There is a concept called soft power, which refers to the ability of a group or institution to influence political decisions without the need to use military force or direct imposition. And who, if not the Jesuits, have dominated this strategy for centuries? Many believe that the Black Pope possesses this ability, working behind the scenes to ensure that certain agendas are followed to the letter. There are even speculations that some of the most controversial decisions in human history have been directly influenced by the Vatican through the Society of Jesus. Some say that revolutions, falls of empires, and even changes in the global economy had the strategic participation of this order. But why? What would they gain from controlling governments, financial institutions, and networks of influence? If the Jesuits really have this reach, then the question remains, what are your true goals? What are they trying to build? Is there a hidden agenda being driven from the shadows? These are questions that lead us to reflect on the true face of power in the modern world. Now, I want to know your opinion. Do you believe that the Black Pope really have influence over governments and world leaders? Do you think there is a secret agenda being driven behind the scenes in global politics? Comment below. The power is hidden if you believe there is something bigger going on behind the scenes. Your comment is essential for us to continue this investigation and reveal even more hidden secrets. History is full of hidden signs, fragments of information that, when analyzed carefully, reveal a reality very different from the one we have been taught to accept. And in the case of Black Pope, the enigmatic figure who operates in the shadows of the Vatican is no different. Many believe it to be just a legend or a conspiracy theory. But what if I told you that there are historical records, documents, and accounts that suggest that this figure really exists and that over the centuries, his influence has shaped the destinies of entire nations? Since the beginnings of the Church, the search for control and knowledge has always been at the center of internal disputes. The Vatican, as an institution, understood that true authority was not only in the Word of God, but also in what could be hidden from the eye, faithful, and even other religious leaders. Thus, while the White Pope became the public face of the Church, the Black Pope emerged as a silent strategist, operating behind the scenes, holding secrets that should never be revealed. One of the first records that mention this shadowy figure dates back to the 17th century, when several European courts began to express their concern about the growing influence of the Jesuits. Diplomatic reports from the time indicate that the leaders of the Society of Jesus were coordinating political strategies, influencing war treaties, and in some cases, participating in the rise and fall of monarchs. By 1773, this influence had become so evident that Pope Clement XIV decided to abolish the Jesuit order, claiming that his power had become unsustainable and dangerous to the stability of the Church. But as we know, this attempt to eradicate the Jesuits failed, and the order was restored years later, even stronger and more influential. If the Vatican itself recognized the need to contain the advance of the Society of Jesus, this means that its leadership exerted a much greater force than previously imagined. Official documents from the time indicate that the Jesuits not only had access to confidential information within the Church, but also operated as secret advisors to political and military leaders. Reports indicate that, in some situations, crucial decisions that shaped the destiny of Europe were not taken within the castles of kings, but rather in secret meetings, organized by members of the order. Which brings us to the question, if this happened in the past, does it still happen today? Over time, many researchers and historians have tried to bring to light concrete evidence about the power of Black Pope. Some mention documents archived in the Vatican Secret Library, records so sensitive that only a few people in the world have access to them. Among these documents would be letters, treatises, and reports detailing the true extent of Jesuit influence in global geopolitics. But as expected, most of this information was never officially confirmed, which only increases suspicions that something much bigger is being hidden. Interestingly, some of this evidence came to public attention unexpectedly. In 1900, a manuscript attributed to a former member of the Society of Jesus was leaked to the European press. This document, known as the Protocols of the Jesuits, detailed a strategic plan to infiltrate the world's main political and economic institutions, ensuring that the order maintained absolute control over decisions affecting millions of people. Many discredited the text, saying it was a forgery or an attempt to defame the Church. But the curious thing is that, decades later, Countless events described in these writings began to come true. Another important indication comes from the changes within the structure of the Church. For centuries, no Jesuit had assumed the role of Pope, but in 2013, the world witnessed something unprecedented: the election of the first Jesuit Pope in history, Francis. Many saw this as a natural change within the Church, but others believe that this moment represented the definitive rise of Jesuit influence to the highest post in the Vatican. Does this mean that, for the first time, the Black Pope and the White Pope could, in fact, be the same person? Be that as it may, the truth is that the presence of the Jesuits in the structure of the Church and behind the scenes of world politics is undeniable. If we put together the evidence, historical records, and suspicions surrounding the Society of Jesus, an intriguing and highly questionable picture emerges. But the question remains: if this information is so powerful and potentially dangerous, why do so few people talk about it? Could it be that we are facing one of the greatest secrets ever hidden from humanity? Now, I want to hear from you. Do you believe that historical records truly indicate that there is a hidden government within the Church? Do you think the Black Pope is still operating behind the scenes of power? Comment below. Secrets need to be revealed if you believe there is something much bigger being hidden. Your comment is essential for us to continue this investigation and reveal even more hidden truths. History shows us that whenever an inconvenient truth threatens to surface, those in power do everything they can to silence it. And with the enigmatic figure of Black Pope, this is no different. For centuries, records that could reveal the true extent of Jesuit influence were destroyed, books were banned, and those who dared question the hidden power within the Vatican often disappeared mysteriously or had their voices silenced. But what exactly are they trying to hide? Why are there so many reports of censorship involving the Superior General of the Jesuits and his possible influence within the Church and global geopolitics? If we go back in time, we notice an unsettling pattern. In the 18th century, when several European kingdoms began to notice the alarming growth of Jesuit power, some nations decided to act. Portugal, Spain, and France expelled the Jesuits from their territories, accusing the order of conspiring against governments and manipulating political leaders. Pope Clement XIV, pressured by these powers, finally signed a decree abolishing the Society of Jesus in 1773. But this act had unexpected consequences. Just a year after this decision, Pope Clement XIV himself died under suspicious circumstances. There are rumors that he was poisoned, and some theories indicate that this could have been direct retaliation against his attempt to dismantle Jesuit power. From then on, any documents that suggested Jesuit involvement in political conspiracies were systematically eliminated or kept out of the public eye. Records that pointed out his connections with European nobility, his influence on diplomatic treaties, and even his possible participation in historical events of great impact, like the French Revolution, were hidden or erased from official history. But why? What did these documents contain that made them so dangerous? Even in modern times, censorship surrounding the Black Pope and Jesuit influence within the Vatican remains strong. Many researchers who attempted to deepen this investigation reported extreme difficulties in accessing documents archived in the Vatican Secret Library, one of the most inaccessible places in the world. This file, protected under strict secrecy, allegedly contains manuscripts, letters, and treatises that could reveal the true role of the Society of Jesus within the global power structure. But few are able to get permission to even get close to these documents. An emblematic example of censorship occurred in 1987, when an Italian journalist began to investigate the Vatican involvement in financial scandals who, according to him, were directly linked to high-ranking Jesuit members. After publishing his first findings, he began to receive anonymous threats, and a few months later, was found dead under suspicious circumstances. His death was quickly classified as a suicide, but many people close to him claimed that he was about to release explosive information about the relationship between the Church and networks of international economic power. This case, like many others, was hushed up, and his research mysteriously disappeared. Another intriguing case happened to a former Jesuit priest who decided to expose the order's internal secrets. He wrote a book where he claimed that the Black Pope had access to information about secret societies, clandestine church operations, and even files on historical events that have been manipulated to serve specific interests. Shortly before publication, publishers working on the project began to come under pressure, and some stopped releasing the work. The book was published in a limited number of copies, and strangely enough, many of these copies were withdrawn from circulation shortly after, and it doesn't stop there. In recent years, channels and authors trying to bring this discussion to light often have their content censored on digital platforms. Videos disappear, articles are deleted, and profiles are banned without explanation. Is it just a coincidence, or are we dealing with a much more organized system, which controls what information can or cannot be accessed by the public? The question that remains is, if there is nothing to hide, why so much effort to silence those who try to question? If the Black Pope has no power, why are any investigations into him quickly discredited or eliminated? Something much bigger is happening, something most people can't even imagine. Now, I want to know your opinion. Do you believe there is an attempt to silence the truth about the Black Pope? Do you think there are hidden documents that could change everything we know about the Church and its true power? Comment below. The truth needs to be revealed if you want these secrets to come to light. Your comment is essential for us to continue this investigation and reveal even more hidden information. Reports about the existence of Black Pope. They don't just come from conspiracy theorists or people who question the structure of the Vatican. They exist former priests, historians, and even former church members who claim to have seen the dark influence of this mysterious leader up close. And that is precisely why this subject becomes even more intriguing. Why do individuals who have been inside the Church itself, who have known its secrets and rituals, insist that there is a figure operating in the shadows, with power that surpasses even that of the White Pope? What do these people know that the rest of the world can't discover? Over the years, several former priests began to report their experiences within the structure of the Church and, mainly, about the secret hierarchy that governs it. One of these reports came from a former Jesuit priest who decided to break his silence and expose what he knew about the Superior General of the Society of Jesus, the figure historically called Black Pope. He described secret meetings held inside the Vatican where crucial decisions were made without the public's knowledge. At these meetings, it was not the Pope who had the final say, but rather the leader of the Jesuits, a man whose orders seemed unquestionable within the corridors of power. This former priest stated that the Jesuit influence was not limited to religious issues alone, but it extended to politics, the global economy, and even the control of classified information. Another revealing case was that of a historian who spent years researching ancient documents stored in ecclesiastical archives and who, upon connecting the dots, realized that the role of the Jesuits in history was much greater than previously believed. This researcher discovered evidence that indicated the role of the Society of Jesus in fall of monarchies, the creation of strategic alliances, and even the manipulation of wars. But most shocking of all was the realization that, in almost every critical period in history, the Superior General of the Jesuits was always involved, often operating invisibly, without ever appearing in conventional history books. Many former members of the Church report that, within the Catholic structure, there is a hidden hierarchy where true power is not in the hands of the Pope visible to the world, but in the hands of those who control the information and who decide what can or cannot be revealed. Some say that there are secret vows made by high-ranking Jesuits, where they swear absolute loyalty to the Black Pope above any other authority. This means that, even within the Vatican itself, there are people who respond directly to this mysterious figure, without the majority of believers even knowing of his existence. One of the scariest stories came from a bishop who, before passing away, gave a shocking testimony about what he had witnessed behind the scenes of the Church. He stated that some papal decisions were never actually made by the White Pope, but rather dictated by the Superior General of the Jesuits. According to him, the official Pope served only as a public figure, while the most important decisions came from a hidden force within the Vatican. This bishop also mentioned that many confidential church documents never reach the Pope, but are kept in the custody of the Jesuits, who have access to secret records that could completely change the way the story of Christianity is told. And it's not just religious figures making these claims. Some independent scholars who have had access to rare and banned archives say the Vatican has documents that prove the influence of the Black Pope on important historical events, including founding governments, directing economic policies, and even influencing institutions such as the UN and the World Bank. These scholars claim that this is not just about religion, but about a system of global control which continues to operate in the shadows. If all this is true, then we are dealing with something much bigger than we imagine. The idea that the Vatican keeps deep secrets is already known, but the possibility that the existence of a parallel government within the Church itself, commanded by the Black Pope, raises even more worrying questions. Could this secret structure be influencing not only people's faith, but also the decisions that govern the world? Are the reports of these former priests and historians just coincidences? Or are we facing a truth that has been carefully hidden over the centuries? Now, I want to know your opinion. Do you believe that former members of the Church actually know information that the Vatican would never reveal to the public? Do you think there is a secret network operating within the Church, and that the Black Pope is the key player in this hidden game? Comment below. The mystery needs to be revealed if you believe the truth is being hidden. Your comment is essential for us to continue this investigation and reveal even more hidden information. Over the centuries, countless prophecies warned of a time when the Church would be commanded not by a divinely chosen leader, but by a hidden figure, operating in the shadows, guiding the Christian faith onto an unknown path. For many scholars and theologians, this prophecy fits perfectly with the idea that the Black Pope may be this figure mentioned in scriptures and mystical revelations. But how true is this? Is this prophecy already being fulfilled before our eyes? Many believe that the events we are witnessing within the Church today are not mere coincidences, but yes, signs that something much bigger is afoot. If we go back in time and analyze the prophecies of Saint Malachi, a 12th century Irish archbishop, we will find a sequence of predictions that seem to point to the exact moment when the Church would reach its final collapse. Saint Malachi would have received a revelation where he saw all the popes who would govern the Church until the last leader, the one who would witness the end of time. What makes this prophecy even more frightening is that the last predicted pope on the list would be Peter the Roman, a leader who would govern the Church during times of great tribulation. But what if this prophecy is not just talking about the visible pope, but rather about an authority that really governed the Church behind the scenes? For many, the answer lies in Superior General of the Society of Jesus, the Black Pope, a man who does not respond to the White Pope, but rather to a hidden agenda, which may be being fulfilled at this very moment. After all, never before in history had a Jesuit assumed the throne of Peter. But in 2013, everything changed. For the first time, a member of the Society of Jesus became the highest leader of the Catholic Church. This means that, for the first time, the White Pope and the Black Pope could be the same person. And if this is true, then we are witnessing an unprecedented event in the history of the Church, a moment that can be directly linked to the prophecies that warn about the end times. But this is not the only prophecy that mentions a hidden leader ruling the Church before its final collapse. In several Marian apparitions, there are reports of messages that indicate that the Church would undergo a great infiltration, where dark forces would take control of their leadership. One of these messages was recorded on the third prophecy of Fatima, a secret revealed by the Virgin Mary to 3 children in Portugal in 1917. For years, this prophecy was kept secret by the Vatican, and when it was finally released to the public, many believed that the true content was hidden. Some scholars claim that what was actually revealed to the children spoke of a great crisis within the Church, where its structure would be internally corrupted by leaders who would no longer serve God, but rather another purpose. If we analyze current events, we will see that the Church has gone through profound changes, some of them going against centuries of tradition. What was once considered immutable within the Christian faith is now being questioned, rewritten, reinterpreted. Could this be a sign that the Black Pope's influence is becoming more evident? Are we seeing the rise of a parallel government within the Vatican itself, exactly as the prophecies predicted? Another stunning revelation comes from Book of Revelation, which mentions a religious leader who would work together with a powerful political figure. preparing the world for a new global system. This leader is called the false prophet, a man who would appear to be holy, but in reality, it would be leading humanity down a dark path. For many biblical scholars, this character could be linked to the Black Pope, as its influence is not limited only to the church, but also extends to politics, the economy, and various institutions that shape the future of the world. If these prophecies really are coming true now, what does this mean for the future of the Christian faith? Could it be that the church, as we know it, is being transformed into something completely different, without the faithful realizing it? Has true control of the church already been transferred to a select group who follow a hidden agenda? These are questions that need to be asked, because the signs are everywhere, and only those who have eyes to see will realize what is really happening. Now, I want to know your opinion. Do you believe that the prophecies about a hidden leader in the church are now being fulfilled? Do you think that has the Black Pope already taken control of the Vatican without the world noticing? Comment below. The signs are everywhere if you believe that the end of times could be closer than we imagine. Your comment is essential for us to continue this investigation and reveal even more hidden information. If the Black Pope actually exists and exercises control over the church behind the scenes, this means that the Christian faith may be being conducted in a very different way than most believers imagine. For centuries, Christians believed that the ultimate authority within the church lay in the hands of the White Pope, the successor of Peter, the one who supposedly leads Christ's flock on earth. But what if that's not the complete truth? What if, behind the public figure of the Pope, there is another hidden leadership, operating in the shadows, making decisions that are not based on faith, but rather on political, financial, and even spiritual interests of a secret agenda? The impact of this for the faithful is something that can completely change the way we see the church and its mission in the world. For many people, the Catholic Church is seen as a pillar of faith, an institution guided by the Holy Spirit, which works to keep the teachings of Christ alive. But if there is a force operating behind the scenes, manipulating the structure of the church for hidden purposes, then all this belief may be being distorted without the faithful realizing it. This means that instead of following the true word of God, millions of people may be being led down a path that no longer reflects the original teachings of Christ. In recent years, many changes within the church have generated questions and controversies. Some believers believe that certain doctrines are being made more flexible in a way that does not comply with traditional biblical principles. Others perceive a move away from genuine spirituality in favor of an increasingly political and ideological discourse. This raises the question, are these changes happening by the Pope's own will, or is there a hidden force guiding the church towards a new direction? And if that's the case, what is the true purpose of this new path? If we analyze the history of the church, we will see that the figure of the Black Pope has always been involved in crucial moments of humanity, often acting silently, without the faithful realizing its true reach. The Society of Jesus, known for its strategic intelligence and infiltration capacity, has always positioned itself within the centers of power, influencing not only religion, but also governments, the economy, and even military events. Now imagine the impact of this within the very structure of the Christian faith. If the Black Pope is the one who really gives the orders, who guarantees that the guidelines followed today by the Church are, in fact, those that Christ taught? Another worrying aspect is that the very notion of spiritual authority may be compromised. If the figure of the Pope is seen as the maximum representative of the Catholic faith, but in reality there is another hidden leadership guiding the direction of the Church, then who are the faithful really following? This opens a dangerous opening for manipulation, where a doctrine can be gradually changed without people noticing, leading multitudes to accept changes without questioning whether they are really part of the divine plan. Furthermore, there is a very strong emotional and spiritual impact on the faithful. Many people place their complete trust in the Church, believing that its leaders are holy men, guided by the Holy Spirit to lead God's people along the right path. If that trust is shaken by the revelation that there is a hidden command behind the scenes, what will happen to these people's faith? Some may feel lost, deceived, betrayed by an institution that over the centuries has always presented itself as the only and true guardian of the Word of God. And we cannot forget the impact on Christianity itself. If the doctrine is being manipulated without the faithful noticing, what will be the future of faith? Will religion continue to be a path of salvation, or is it being transformed into something that serves a greater plan, unknown to most? Many prophecies have warned of times when the truth would be distorted, and the faithful would be deceived by those in leadership positions within the church. The possibility that this prophecy is being fulfilled before our eyes is something that needs to be seriously discussed. Now, I want to know your opinion. Do you believe that believers are being manipulated without realizing it? Do you think the figure of Cud Black Pope be leading the church down a hidden path? Comment below. We need to know the truth if you believe this mystery needs to be revealed. Your comment is essential for us to continue this investigation and reveal even more hidden information. If we analyze everything that has been discussed so far, the signs are clear. The figure of Black Pope. It's not just a conspiracy theory. There are historical records, censored documents, reports from former priests and historians, changes within the structure of the church, and even prophecies that point to the existence of a hidden leader which operates in the shadows of the Vatican, influencing not only faith, but also global political and economic decisions. What makes this mystery even more unsettling is the fact that whenever someone tries to raise this issue, there are attempts to silence, censor, and discredit them, as if there was a deliberate effort to prevent people from discovering the truth. What if this is all real? What does this mean for the Christian faith and for the millions of believers who blindly trust the authority of the Vatican? Do the guidelines that have been followed over the years truly reflect the Word of God? Or is there a hidden agenda being implemented without most people realizing it? If the Black Pope has so much power and influence behind the scenes of the Church, this means that the structure of the Vatican is not what it appears to be, and that there is much more going on behind the curtains than we can imagine. We cannot ignore that, over the centuries, the Vatican has always been involved in events that changed the course of history. From secret political alliances to involvement in wars and economic issues, the Church has never been just an institution of faith. She is a center of power. And within that center of power, there are those who operate visibly and those who operate in the shadows. Would the Black Pope be the true architect of the direction of the Church and global geopolitics? History shows us that the Jesuits have always played a crucial role in the structure of the Vatican. They infiltrated governments, manipulated information, controlled educational systems, and have always been present in the most critical moments of the Church. If this religious order managed to survive persecutions, expulsions, and attempts at dissolution over the centuries, this means that they hold knowledge or power that makes them indispensable to the hidden structure of the Church. And if there's anything history teaches us, it's that nothing survives for so long without a greater purpose. Given all this evidence, the central question arises: is the Black Pope real or just a myth? Historical records and reports from people who were within the Church indicate that this figure not only exists, but that his role may be much bigger than we imagine. If he really has influence over the Vatican and the direction of Christianity, that means there is a parallel government within the Church itself, making crucial decisions without the faithful being aware of it. And now I want to know your opinion. Is the Black Pope a reality or a legend created to generate theories? Do you believe there is something much bigger being hidden within the walls of the Vatican? Comment below. The truth needs to be revealed if you want this mystery to come to light. Your comment is essential for us to continue this investigation and reveal even more hidden information. Share this video with more people so that this discussion reaches more people, because the more voices question it, the closer we will be to discovering the truth. I know what you got here. It wasn't by chance. Nothing happens without a purpose, and if this message touched your heart, if you felt that God spoke to you in some way through this video, then subscribe to the channel now. Here, we continue investigating the hidden truth, the mysteries of the Vatican, and the prophecies that may be being fulfilled before our eyes. Don't let this information stop here, because there is much more to be revealed. I know that I want to know who really stayed with me until the end of this video. If you made it this far, comment now. I want to know the truth. Your comment is very important because it helps spread this message and strengthen this community of people who seek to understand what is really happening behind the scenes of faith and power. If this content made sense to you, if it opened your eyes to something new, then leave your like so that YouTube delivers this video to more people who also need to hear this message. And now, don't stop here. Click on the next video that is appearing on your screen and continue this investigation with me. What you see next could change everything you believed until today.